Hey, what's up YouTube? Down the smartphone guy coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to take a first look at the Vernee Mix 2. So this is a pretty impressive little device. It's one that is very inexpensive, and one that I've been pretty impressed by so far. So let's go ahead and take a look at what all this thing has to offer. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into where I picked it up from, because there is actually a really good deal on it right now. So I got it from gearbest.com, which they have quite a few Black Friday deals. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down to their Black Friday just kind of deal page, but then also a link directly to the Vernee Mix 2. So you can see right now it's available for $166 if you're looking at it on Black Friday. So I believe that deal lasts for about 36 hours, but I'm not exactly sure. The regular price of this phone is closer to like $200, so just kind of keep that in mind. But if you're watching this and it happens to be Black Friday, you can see that right now it's available for $166. So links will be down in the description if you're interested in checking that out. So gearbest.com. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about what all this thing has to offer. So first of all, this is the box it comes in, but let's take a look at the specs, and they're nice enough to include a bunch of the specs right here on the back. So first of all, we have the Helio P25 processor. That's a MediaTek processor, and I believe it's clocked at 2.6 gigahertz. In terms of the display, so you can see that right there, we have basically a full screen display. As you can see, we do have just a small chin there at the bottom, but that is a 6-inch display that happens to be full HD plus. So that's basically just a stretched out full HD display. We have 6 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of onboard storage. Now I do want to mention that the version that you saw there for $166 that I just showed you at gearbest.com, that actually is the 4 gig of RAM version. So same amount of onboard storage. And you can see that it is expandable via micro SD card up to 128 gigs. We have a dual camera setup on the back. That's a 13 megapixel and a 5 megapixel camera. And the 5 megapixel camera is a monochromatic camera. So that'll take you the black and white pictures, and supposedly also give you that kind of like portrait mode or blur mode as well. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And we also have an 8 megapixel camera up front. We have a whopping 4,200 milliamp hour battery, which so far has done very well. I've had it for 24 hours now. We do have quick charge, and that's a 2 amp quick charge there. We have a fingerprint sensor located in the back of the phone right where it belongs, and so far it's worked very well. 4G LTE, of course, is supported. We have dual SIM, so when it comes to the SIM card, you can either do 2 SIM cards or you can do a SIM card and a micro SD card. So you have that option, but dual SIM is available if you want it. And then we also have Android 7.0. So that is the specs. And one other thing I want to mention here in terms of the unboxing that you get with this device is, first of all, it does come with the European wall adapter, so you'll probably want to use, obviously, a American one if you're living in the United States, or whatever, if you live in Europe, then you want to use the European version. But we have this is a micro USB for charging it, so no Type C. So that would be probably one of the biggest negatives of the device. Now it does come with a case, so nice little silicone case there. And a couple other things that it comes with is a couple of screen protectors. So there's actually a screen protector, and if I can pull those out, we get a screen protector for both the front and the back of the device. So this is the one for the back. You can see it has a spot for the fingerprint sensor and for the cameras. And then you have one for the front as well. Now, it does actually already come with a with a screen protector on the front as well. So I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but there is a screen protector there on the front. So there is our 8 megapixel camera, our front facing camera. So one thing that is a little bit weird is that it is at the bottom of the phone. And so when you go to take a picture, I found that I got my finger in the way quite often, so that was just a little bit of a negative there. And there's our dual camera setup on the back. You can see we do have that dual flash there as well. And then our fingerprint sensor on the bottom, we again have micro USB, so a little bit of a negative. Now the bottom speaker is right here as well, and then this one is just a microphone. And then up at the top we do have an earpiece, and you can see there's a little LED notification light there as well. So this is the phone, and we're going to go ahead and hop right in there. So build quality wise, you can see that it does have a glass back, and that glass back is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, as you can see there. And we do have an aluminum frame here, so nice build quality for sure. Now, does it feel as premium as the more expensive phones? So like, does it feel as premium as like a Note 8? Obviously not. When you compare it to something like the Essential phone obviously has more premium build to it. Just feels more premium, whereas this one feels like it doesn't feel cheap by any means, but it doesn't feel as premium just in the hand as a $600 phone. But it does still feel quite good in the hand. Not bad at all for a phone that you're only spending around $200 for, or, you know, as you could see, it was $166 if you get that deal right now. So we do have a nice bright screen, as you can see. It looks very good. So it's technically full HD. And so that's not too bad at all. Now, in terms of performance, this thing so far has really done very, very well. It's basically just running 100% stock Android. It only came with Google Apps. It came with this emergency app there as well. FM radio, but other than that, it's pretty much just running stock. So you can see I haven't put a whole lot of apps on there, but in the things I've done so far, so I've played some NBA Jam on it. NBA Jam ran really smoothly. I also had a couple other things running in the background on purpose just to kind of see if I could slow it down and bog it down, and so far so good. 6 gigs of RAM combined with that 2.6 gigahertz octa-core processor does very well up to this point. So I would say performance-wise, it seems like it's going to handle its own. Obviously, it's not, you know, the Snapdragon 835 processor, but it does very, very well in day-to-day usage so far. Now, this is obviously just a first impression, but more to come on that. So in terms of the camera, again, we have that dual camera setup on the back, 13 megapixel, and I believe it's 5 megapixel on the back, and it actually doesn't do too bad. So I'll just take a quick snap here. So this is just a general photo here, not using the blur. But I will say that the blur is pretty not good. Because what it does is it basically just blurs the middle of the screen. It doesn't do anything like where it does portrait mode. It's not doing that. It's basically just blurring out everything around but the center. It kind of does like a little center circle that's not blurry, because you can see as I move closer to that McDonald's cup being in the center, it gets less and less blurry. So, and that's really all that does. And then you can see that, like I mentioned, there is that monochrome sensor there as well, so you can go ahead and take black and white photos with that. But overall, camera quality is actually not as bad as I would have expected for such an inexpensive phone. So there's a couple of selfie shots there. Another picture of that cup. So this is one I did earlier, and I was just testing out that blur, and you can see that basically just the middle is clean, and it doesn't like have clean lines at all. It's really kind of a false portrait mode, really just blurring everything but the center of that picture. So camera wise, I would say decent so far, but certainly not amazing camera quality there. In terms of battery life, that really is something that I have to do more testing on, but we have a 4200 milliamp hour battery, so my expectation is that it's going to be quite good, and so far it has done well. Now, I haven't been able to use the phone a whole lot because I've been actually out Black Friday shopping mostly. Yeah, you can see only 19 minutes of screen on time, but I didn't even have it fully charged. So yeah, so battery life wise, I would expect it to be quite good with that 4200 milliamp hour battery, but we'll obviously do more testing on that as we get to use the device a little bit more. So we already talked about the software. It's running Android 7.0. Now, I've never had a Vernee phone before, so I don't know whether to expect any kind of software updates, but my guess is probably not, since it is only running the August security patch at the moment. So Android 7.0 August security patch. So I wouldn't expect to get updates, but it is nice that it does have basically 100% stock Android. There's really not a whole lot added to this. There was a couple of things that they add in here in terms of the Smart Assistant, so we can press the power button twice for the camera, power button ends calls, and then we can just swap the buttons back down here on the bottom as well, so you can see basically that just swaps the software keys, but I prefer to have them in this order. Now, we do have some motion gestures. Basically, the motion gestures are allow you to take a screenshot. So if we're on a screen that didn't actually do that. Okay, I didn't even have it on, so that's probably the reason. So basically, you just use 3 fingers, you slide to take a screenshot. As you can see there, worked quite well. And then we have flip to mute, so nothing major there in terms of the motion gestures. And then with the status bar, we can just pick and choose what is found up in our status bar. So that's really all that does. So really, other than that, other than these three things, we have 100% stock Android 7.0. So of course, with that, we can multitask on this really large screen. So for instance, if we wanted to watch YouTube, and maybe let's see, what else do we got here that I can use at the same time? So maybe we could go to Google. No, I don't think I didn't even set up Google on here yet. So but yeah, basically, I mean, you can see we can run through YouTube no problem while we're also running through our Google feed as well. So pretty nice in my opinion, but let's go ahead and get rid of that. And we're going to take a listen to that speaker now. So let's go into, okay, now it's going into Google. But let's jump in back into YouTube, whoops, over here. And let's take a listen to that speaker. So like I said, it's a bottom firing speaker over here. And I would say that up to this point, it doesn't seem to be super loud, but let's go ahead and just take a listen real quick. Okay, so not a particularly loud speaker by any means, and definitely not very bass heavy at all either. So a little bit tinny, not the loudest speaker. So if you're looking for a phone with a nice loud speaker, probably not the phone for you. Now, this phone does not feature any kind of waterproofing. Obviously, at that budget-friendly price, you're not going to get that, but it is unlocked worldwide. However, one thing I do want to mention, so I'm going to go back into the GearBest listing for the phone. It's really important that you double check what kind of service you will get with this phone. So you can see right now, I'm using it actually with a T-Mobile SIM card. And I get Edge service right now. So you can see that when I went in there, it actually jumped the price up to $189, and that's because the deal hasn't actually started yet. But I wanted to go ahead and show you guys the bands that are available. So you just want to double check your bands, what you get where you live. So right now I'm getting basically just 2G GSM, so I can make phone calls on it and things like that. But in terms of internet service where I live, at least, I'm going to have to use Wi-Fi for the most part. Now 2G technically is data service, but it's definitely not going to be fast data service. So double check what you get where you live, because you may or may not get LTE with this, but it is unlocked worldwide, so you can take it around anywhere in the world you might go. This will be able to work, but just double check the bands that are available where you live. So anyways, quick first look at the Vernee Mix 2. This really is a pretty fantastic device. As long as, especially, you can get 4G LTE where you live, I would say this is almost a no-brainer at that price point so far. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.